Hi, I'm Thrifty Tim, one of the many co-hosts for March Mystery Madness, and this video is, or this is actually a live stream, I should say, for it's a live stream for this year for March Mystery Madness because a week from today is April 1st or April Fool's Day. So, and I don't really have anybody on here yet, but I could look up pull up stuff that. Okay, so I'll show you. I think last week I showed you I did find my Kindle, and I'm in the middle. I've been reading a book that's over 26,000 pages long, and it's what it is 365 plus British mysteries, and it starts with Arthur Conan Doyle, his books and short stories and stuff, and it works its way through several British mystery writers from around that time. They're all in the public domain. So, okay, yes, so like I said, down here I'm reading around the Claire stories. I haven't been reading it this month yet, but I might. Okay, and then on my Nook, I'm on chapter 11 now of the book Sharing Her Crime by May Agnes Fleming. Let me get to the title page here. And okay, see, I downloaded it from Project Gutenberg. And then on my tablet, I've been I've been yes, on here I've been reading Sharing Her Crimes because I'll show you why if I can get this to act up. Oh, I have to turn it to the page before. Like at the beginning of every chapter, there's like a little art from a poem or something from different authors on there. So, and so those are what I'm reading, and I'm hoping to get this one done soon to get one more book squeezed in before and get that done before next Tuesday. Okay. So that's oh, and also on here, I can close this out. I'll open okay, and okay, I'm on go on to LibriVox, which is pretty much the equivalent of Project Gutenberg for audiobooks. This is LibriVox, and okay, and so I've been using it for listening to the audiobook for Crime and Punishment. I'm in part two of the part two now of the book, but not that far in yet. I'm like gone through the first.
If you're undergoing memory loss and sleep loss, I bet you don't.
Sorry about that. Bye. I've actually, Nick doesn't like didn't, or my tablet didn't like that. It was just ad for some of the software on here. Okay, I know since nobody's on here right now, I'll grab some more books off my shelves and read the blurbs on them. Okay, so I'll start showing. Okay, so here's one by by Preston and Child. I can't remember. It's the book is Gideon's Sword. Let me check that real fast. With Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child are the authors of it. And I'll read the blurb from on the desk cover. At 12, Gideon Crew witnessed his father, a world-class mathematician, accused of treason and gunned down. At 24, summoned by his dying mother's bedside, Gideon learned the truth. His father was framed and deliberately slaughtered. With her last breath, she begged her son to avenge him. Now, with a new purpose in life, Gideon crafts a one-time mission of vengeance aimed at the perpetrator of his father's destruction. His plan is meticulous, spectacular, and successful. But from the shadows, someone is watching, a very powerful someone who is impressed by Gideon's special skills, someone who has a need of just such a renegade. For Gideon, this operation may be only the beginning. So, well, there's that book. Okay, Kathy Reich's Break No Bones is the next one. And this is, yes, the Bone series is, the TV show Bones was was pretty much set on this series. And so here's a blurb from it. Following the tremendous success of Crossbones, Kathy Reichs explores another high-profile topic, Break No Bones, a case that lands forensic anthropologist Temperance Brennan in the middle of a gruesome international scheme. Summoned to South Carolina to bail him for a negligent colleague, Tempe is of teaching a lackluster archaeology field school in the ruins of a Native American burial ground on the Charleston shore. But then Tempe stumbles upon a fresh skeleton among the ancient bones. Her old friend, Emma Rousseau, the local coroner, persuades her to stay on and help with the investigation. When Emma reveals a disturbing secret, it becomes more important than ever for Tempe to help her friend close the case. The body count begins to climb. An unidentified man is found hanging from a tree deep in the woods. Another corpse shows up in a barrel. There are mysterious nicks on the bones in several bodies and signs of strangulation. Tempe follows the trail to a Free Street clinic with a belligerent staff, a suspicious doctor, and a donor who is a charismatic evangelist. Clues abound in the most unlikely places as Tempe uses her unique knowledge and skills to build her case, even as the local sheriff remains dubious and her own life is threatened. Okay, this one I won't be able to read a blurb from, but this is of Robert B. Palmer, and what it is 3 books in it. The books are the Godwolf manuscript, Rodel Stakes, and Promised Land. So, okay, here's another one that's by Robert B. Parker. It's Perchance to a Dream. It's like his own sequel to Raymond Chandler's A Big Sleep. So I'll read the blurb in here. Around Good Mystery wrote the New York Times book review about Poodle Springs, the best-selling Raymond Chandler novel completed by Robert B. Parker. It is impossible to think of any other writer in the world better qualified for the task than Parker. At his very best, Parker sounds more like Chandler than Chandler himself. Now, Robert B. Parker, author of the Spencer detective novels and foremost interpreter of the Chandler tradition, embarks once again into Chandler territory with an all-new sequel to the 1939 classic, The Big Sleep. Set in the sun-drenched streets and on the lush hillsides of Los Angeles, Perchance to Dream takes Private Eye Philip Marlowe deeper than ever into the labyrinths of crime, duplicity, and murder. After the death of General Guy Sternwood, his daughter Vivian sends her psychic sister Carmen to a sanatorium. Carmen's utter disappearance from the hospital leads Vivian to turn in her desperation to Eddie Mars, a shady underworld cop owner concerned for what is happening to the family. The Sternwood's butler asks Marlowe to find Carmen and fend off Eddie Mars once again. Through it all, Marlowe presses for the truth. The tough, upsoiled Galahad and perchance to a dream, Parker adds major new work to the Philip Marlowe canon, a novel of high suspense, action, and pure excitement, of pure entertainment. Okay, and this next one is by Robert B. Parker. It's Chance, a Spencer novel. Uh, and okay, so I'll read the blurb in here. Okay. Okay, so this, like I said, Chance by Robert B. Parker. The search for a mafia princess's errant spouse leads Spencer of one of the detective fiction's best-selling uh, hard-boiled gumshoes. That's done by what People magazine says. On the firing line in a gangland turf war, once again, Robert B. Parker makes artfulness look easy with Chance, his sensational new thriller. This time, Spencer, the tough but tender sleuth whose passion for justice repeatedly plunges him into a sea of trouble, hires out on a Marshall Matter, whose attached strings entangle him with the mob. When big-time Boston hoodlum Julius Ventura appears or approaches Spencer and his uh, redoubtable sidekick Huck about locating his only daughter's missing husband, it's clear he's not telling them the whole truth about the blushing bride and the ardent groom. In fact, he may be lying, but something about these missing links appeals to Spencer and he agrees to take the case. So begins an odyssey into the netherworld of disorganized crime, from the throne rooms of crime lords to the Vegas strip, uh, uh, from two-bit wise guys with the genius for dangerous liaisons to gangsters most in jeopardy from larceny to homicide. And that's just for openers. All too soon it becomes clear that what's at stake is not young love, but control of gangland. Boston, Spencer, and Doc find themselves dead center in a circus of violence whose shadowy ringmaster is out familiar to a private eye with the past. Set against the bright lights and seamy side streets, Las Vegas, Parker's latest novel proves that he can still create characters who live in dialogue that talks. Okay. Okay, grabbed a few more Robert B. Parker books here. First, have a drink before I start up. Okay. Okay, I just got a text from Elizabeth or Lizzie Faye. She can't make it today. She has an appointment she has to get to. Okay, now the next Robert B. Parker book. This is Hush Money, and this is another Spencer novel. Okay, Spencer investigates shady dealings behind the ivy-covered walls of a academe where political maneuvering takes on deadly proportions. When Robinson Evans is denied tenure at the university, Spencer is asked to investigate it. That here's the duel is tied to the suicide of a young gay activist, Prentice Lamont, while intimations of an affair between Lamont and Evans have long fed the campus rumor mill. No one is willing to talk as Spencer digs deeper. He is nearly drowned in a multicultural swamp of politics, black, gay, academic, and feminist. Simultaneously, Spencer's in a morat. Susan asks him to come to the aid of an old college friend, Casey Roth, the victim of a stalker, but unwilling to shelter for the normal parameters of the PI-client relationship. Casey, smitten with him, goes so far as to attempt to lure him from Susan. When Spencer kindly rejects her advances, Casey turns the tables and begins to stalk him. Meanwhile, the case of Robinson Evans turns deadly. The tip of the iceberg in a great conspiracy to keep America white, male, and straight. Spencer must call upon friends on both sides of the law to stay alive. Okay, the next Robert B. Parker book is Walking Shadow. And Walking Shadow by Robert B. Parker. Here's the blurb. When an unbroken string of best-selling suspense novels behind him, Robert B. Parker is nothing if not world-class. Now, after the success of Paper Doll, applauded by the Boston Globe as one of the best Spencers in a decade, Parker returns with his two-fisted sleuth in Walking Shadow, a twisty, ambitious whodunit which finds them both breaking new ground. A Massachusetts waterfront town, a small repertory theater with a big reputation, a soupçon of scandal, and Spencer is on hand to steal the scene. Hired by the Port City Theater Company's Board of Trustees to investigate the director's claim that he is being followed, Spencer feels like a fish out of water until an actor is gunned down during a performance of a political controversial play. Then Boston's premier private cop and cohort Hawk launched some into action, plunging straight into a maze of motives and constitutes a master class of the difficulty of judging reality from appearance. Spencer soon discovers that solving the actor's murder is only a piece of the puzzle. From covert to eternal connection within the community to municipal corruption with international tentacles, from petty troublemakers to major malefactors for whom murder is nearly a day at the office. This case has everything it takes to stop the sharpest of Sherlocks, and nobody loves a challenge more than Spencer. Eddie and sardonic with an unpredictable cast of lovers, liars, killers, and clowns. Walking Shadows entertains even as it ponders the instability of identities. It is early engrossing performance by a classic talent. So that was The Walking Shadow. Let me see this one. I don't know whether it's a mystery or if it's just a Western. Okay, it looks like it's a combination of the two. So, okay, the next one is Robert B. Parker. The book is Blue Eyed Devil. Okay, so I'll read the blurb. Law enforcement in Appaloosa had once been Virgil Cole, ME. Out there was a chief of police and 12 policemen. One third day back in town, the chief invited us to his office for a talk. The new chief is Amos Calico, a tall, fat man in a derby hat, wearing a star on his vest and a big pearl-handled coat inside his coat. An ambitious man with his eye on the governorship and perhaps a presidency. He wants Cole hooked and hitched on his side, but they can't be brought about, which upsets him mightily. While Calico begins shaking down the local merchants for protection money, those who don't want to play along seek the help of Cole and Hitch. When Cole is forced to fire on the trigger-happy son of a connected landowner, General Horatio Laird Calico's easy dream had begun to crumble. The guns for hire are thorns in the side of the power-hungry chief, until he's any excuse to take them out. There will be a showdown, but two will be left standing. So it does sound like a good one. Do have a few more Robert B. Parkers here. Okay. Next one, it's this Sea Change, and it's a Jesse Stone novel, of course. The Spencer novels that there was a show based on them with Robert. I can't remember his last name. And it was it slipped my mind now. But this one is the one of the Jesse Stone novels, which of course oh shoot. It talks about getting old, trying to remember the names of the actors that played them. Oh, Tom Selleck was played Jesse Stone. Well, I'll read the blurb now. Over a career spanning more than 3 decades, Robert B. Parker has moved effortlessly among genres and from one best-selling series to the next. While each literary creation has garnered him praise, it is a compassionate, heroic, and troubled police chief Jesse Stone who has achieved unparalleled acclaim. Jesse Stone comes into his own big time. A Star is Born, said Kirkus in its starred review of Stone Cold. Parker's most rewarding, complicated, shameless, wrote Entertainment Weekly. When a woman's partially decomposed body washes ashore in Paradise, Stone is forced into a case far more difficult than it initially appears. Identifying the woman is just the first step in what proves to be a treacherous and emotionally charged investigation. Lawrence Horvath was an attractive, recently divorced heiress from Florida. She also had a penchant for stormy sex and uh, was an enthusiastic participant in a video depicting the same. Somehow the combination of her past and her present got her killed, but no one is talking. Not the crew of the Lady Jane, the Fort Lauderdale yacht moored in Paradise Harbor. Not Florence's very blonde, very tan twin sisters, Corliss and Claudia, and not her curiously feckless parents living out a sterile retirement in Miami high rise. But someone, Jesse, has to speak for the dead, even if it puts him in harm's way. Okay, another spin or uh, Jesse Stone story. This is Night and Day. And let me read the blurb from it. Okay, I'm half an hour in. Okay. Police Chief Jesse Stone has received his share of unusual calls, but none can top the one from the local junior high school. When reporters of lewd when reports of lewd conduct by the school's principal, Betsy Ingersoll, filter into the station, Jesse is faced with a particularly delicate situation. Ingersoll claims she was protecting the propriety of her students when she inspected each girl's undergarments in the locker room. Jesse, of course, would like nothing more than to see the prim, peculiar Ingersoll punished. But Betsy Ingersoll is married to the managing partner of the biggest law firm in the state, and Jay Ingersoll wants the matter buried, and he is used to getting what he wants. At the same time, the women of Paradise are being threatened by a tormented warrior called the Night Hawk, who's been scouring suburban neighborhoods and evening falls. Initially, he's content to simply peer through the windows, but as pressure builds, he becomes a lot more reckless, entertaining Holmes, forcing his victims to strip and at gunpoint, then photographing them at their most vulnerable. And according to the note she's sending, he's not satisfied to stop there. It's up to you, Jesse, to catch the Night Hawk before it's too late. Okay, next up is going back to a Spencer novel, and this is written by Robert B. Parker. This is Sudden Mischief. And the blurb. Parker's finest in years. One can't put it down, the story. Again, proclaimed that the San Francisco Chronicle of Robert B. Parker's most recent New York Times bestseller, Small Places, Nobody Does It Better, cheered Publishers Weekly in a Star Review. And the Washington Post book world has said small vices deserves instant inclusion in the Spencer canon. And suddenly mischief, Parker's self-hearted hero, or stout-hearted hero, unknowingly takes a case that tests his sleuthing skills and his commitment to the woman he loves. Brad Sterling, former Harvard football player, never and Susan Silverman's long out of touch ex-husband is, by all appearances, successful businessman. But when he is charged with sexual harassment in the course of running a vast fundraiser called Galapone's, he turns to Susan for help. Though Brad denies the charges, he's desperate behind an alimony and child support to other exes and on the verge of dissolution. When Spencer reluctantly agrees to the case, he finds Brad denies everything. Sterling claims everything is fine. He is free of debt and free of problems. Although harassment charge begins to look more and more suspicious. Suspense, suspicious that Spencer begins to sense there is something wrong with Galapoo's when leads to charities turn into dead ends, and Suzanne meanwhile becomes steadily more problematic as she wrestles with demons, reinvigorating the resurrection of her ex-husband. At the question's mount, when Brad disappears, the body is found, and the shadowy mob connection begins to coalesce. Spencer finds himself fighting a two-front war against some very bad men on the one hand, and an increasingly difficult Susan struggling with her own resurrection on the other. Okay, and here's one more Robert B. Parker. Okay, I'm choosing out how far long I've been on. Okay. This is Melancholy Baby. This is a Sonny Randall novel. And here's the blurb. Boston PI Sonny Randall, as conflicted as she is beautiful, helps a troubled young woman locate her birth parents, only to uncover some dark truths of her own. My ex-husband was getting married to a woman I wanted to kill. I didn't actually know her, and killing her would only make matters worse. But I got as much pleasure out of the idea as I could before I had to let it go of it. And so begins Melancholy Baby, the fourth novel in the best-selling series featuring Sonny Randall, who faces the unthinkable, the marriage of her ex-husband Richie to someone else. Despite the formality of divorce, Sonny and Richie's relationship continued in its own headstrong way until his desire for marriage overtook her need for freedom. Now Sonny must try to pull herself together and move on or around those emotional roadblocks. When college student Sarah Markham comes asking for help in finding her birth parents, Sonny realizes she must take the case, if only to distract herself from her personal life. Sarah has long felt something was not quite right about her family, and Oh, her father was loving. Her her relationship with her mother has been chilly at best. Sonny's initial inquiries have some alarming consequences. The PI's life and work have a curious and dangerous way of intersecting before the investigation has a chance to really take off. Two key players are dead, and Sonny is back on a psychiatrist's account, probing her own past for clues. When she discovers that the potential to shatter Sarah Martin's family and destroy her sense of self, while Sunny's own beliefs are pure to the ultimate test. Emotionally complex and rich with insight, Melancholy Baby is a grandmaster at his storytelling best. Okay, I think that's all the books I'm going to show today. I might show some more in some of my videos throughout the year. This is my last live one on Wednesdays for March Mystery Madness, since this is the last Wednesday in the month. I'm losing my voice some now. Uh, so, uh, but you'll be seeing me. I'll be making the videos and stuff yet. Especially, I'm going to be doing some on the public domain since I'm going to start a project the beginning of April, which I'll tell you about closer to them. So until next time, take it easy and keep on reading.